Hello YouTube. It's been quite a long time since I did a video on X-Plane 11. I have to apologise about that. There haven't been many aircraft that have been released that I've really been interested in the last month or so, couple of months or so. But if you watch my last video on the channel, you'll know that I then just purchased Oculus Rift and was looking forward to testing out X-Plane in VR, and that's what I've been doing since I had the Rift. And I have to tell you, it's the best thing I've ever had for a flight simulator. It's absolutely fantastic. We're outside the aircraft at the moment, as you can see. We're outside. It's the IXCG 737-300, and looking through this Rift, it's just like standing outside the real aircraft in real life. It's just unbelievable. So what we're going to do today, I think, is hop into the cockpit of the IXCG, and I'm just going to show you around a few things, what we can do with the Rift, and how we work the controls, and looking at maps, and a little bit of a taster for the Rift. So we'll nip inside the cockpit and have a look in there. Okay everyone, so we're in the IXCG cockpit, and I'm just looking around now, and oh my lovely, it's just unbelievable. Yes, it's a little bit blurry, and you do have to turn your settings down in X-Plane to get a decent result. I'm just looking at the FPS. I'm at Birmingham Airport at the moment, which is the UK 2000 scenery, and we're getting 23 FPS, and that's probably about what I get in a jetliner on the ground, or perhaps it'll go up to 40 or 15 places, you know. It normally doesn't drop below about 22, something like that, and it's so smooth. I'm looking around now, and although you can't see exactly what I'm seeing, it really is smooth, and I've got no jitters or jerkiness. The cockpit's flashing on and off. I think that's an X-Plane lighting thing at the moment, but not to worry about that. So here's my right controller. As you can see, it's got a couple of buttons there. If I press the top left button, which has got the three lines on the top, it brings up a menu, and we can whiz around that menu with a hat switch on the controller and select all the different things we want to select. We've also got a left controller, which is just over here. There's the left controller. That's got the menu button on as well, and the button below that on the right controller, the X button, will zoom you in and out of the cockpit. Makes it a bit easier to read some of the writing on the FMC and bits and pieces. But overall, you know, it's not that bad. You can't read anything, but it is a little bit blurry. And when you first get the Oculus Rift and you try it out from stock without altering anything, it does look rather blurry. But you can get around that with a couple of little tweaks to make it a little bit better. But it's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. As you can see, I've got the Avitab iPad in the cockpit with me here, which is a little add-on you can pop into the IXCG, which is very useful when you're in VR, because you can have a look at your charts, and you've got a map on there. We can see where you are, where you're going, or where exactly you are in the skies. And I'm just going to show you now I don't know if you can see that, but if I point the controller at the throttles, they light up green in the middle there, and the same for the switches. Not very distinguishable in this sunlight, but you can see that they do turn green, and then you can pull a trigger on the front, turn the controller, and it will alter or flick your switches up and down. And I think more or less everything in this IXCG works with the Oculus. So it's you know, it's a pretty good aircraft to and it's got, and the FPS are quite good in the aircraft as well. What we'll have a look at now, I think, let's put this controller down, is we'll have a look at how we get out of the cockpit to have a look at the desktop, in case you've got things on the desktop you want to have a look at, and how we can pull those into the VR environment from off the desktop. Okay, so we're back in the cockpit, and just want to show you now how we can do a few things with the using the right controller. You can do a lot of this stuff with the left controller, but I prefer it with the right one. If we press the one with the 3 lines, we get a menu pop up, and we can go to the flight configuration. We can go to views outside, windows, which will put you into settings, so you can go into your X-plane settings, and there's a bunch of other stuff you can do as well with that. The top one, that one there, puts you in the pilot's seat, so if you move about, you can move about if you set the controllers up properly. You can move across, down, up, put yourself in a position that you like in the cockpit. So that's a nice feature. Turn that menu off a second. Now if we want to go to our desktop and have a look at, say, for example, I've got EFAS open at the moment. There is another button on the controller, but you can't see it in VR, but you can feel it. It's got a 0 on the top of the button, and it's just below the @ switch, and if I press that button now, it will take me to I've got 2 monitors on the go, and I'd actually selected the second monitor, which is the one I've got EFAS on there, and you can interact with EFAS how you normally would on the monitor, and you can drag EFAS into the cockpit with you. There's a middle trigger button on the controller. If I hold that and move the hat switch to the left to make it a bit smaller, and then move the hat switch towards me, I can pop it down there in the cockpit like that, get the controller, and there's a pin button just on the bottom there. If I click that pin button, come back into the cockpit, and there's EFAS with me. The only thing is you can't interact with EFAS while it's in the cockpit. You can press the 0 button on your controller, and then you can interact with EFAS, and then just go back as you wish. But I don't really drag EFAS in the cockpit normally. I'll leave it outside, and just if I need to have a look at it, either just lift the Oculus Rift up a little bit and just peep at the monitor, or just press the 0 button, nip outside the VR cockpit, and look at the monitor in that way. The other thing you can do, if you've got a Navigraph subscription, in this Avi tab, you can click on airports there, type in the ICAO code of the airport you want. I'm at EGBB, which is Birmingham. Tick OK, and if we click on, there's a grid button there. If we click on that, we can have a look at departures, for example. Click on the departures button, and then you've got your charts up there. And if you use SimLink, which you can download from the Navigraph website, put that on your computer, you can actually track your departure out. The little red aircraft there will follow the departure out, or if you're arriving at an airport, it'll track the arrival as well. And of course you can, another handy thing of course is you can have a look at the airport charts, and you can look at the stands where you're going to park at, and it will track down the runway, and you can follow the taxiway. So that's another nice thing you can do. In the Avi tab, we've also got the map. I'll click on the map. There we are. We can zoom in. You can zoom right in and use this map as a taxi aid if you wanted to, and you can zoom right out. And you can see where I am over the British Isles. So that's really useful when you're in VR. Okay, so another thing we can do, if we just go back to the menu, And I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, if we go to the eye at the bottom there, which it says views, if we click on that with the hat switch, and we can go to they're not exactly what it says on the menu, but if we just go to the circle view, we can see we're outside the aircraft now. And if I use the left controller's hat switch, because I've got that set up to pan left and right, we can actually go, you know, around the aircraft and whatever we want to do. Zoom in. I think there's a limit how far you can zoom in with this, but it's really nice when you're up flying, just to nip around the outside and have a look what's happening outside the aircraft. That's a really nice feature. And of course, just to go back into cockpit, click the menu button and hit the get to pilot seat, and we're back in the seat again. And I'll just move myself into a better position. There we go. So that's a little insight into the Oculus and VR. I think I'm going to be doing some more videos on VR in the near future. It's took me a while to get used to it, how to set the X-plane up to run it reasonably well, and how to use the controllers and get the menus and everything coming into the cockpit, and all the rest of the stuff, which is a new learning curve. So I hope you've enjoyed this bit of a short video, and as I say, I will be doing some more without a doubt on VR, and to keep your eye on the channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.